QC. And we're continuing with our Paint the Town Blue agenda that we started with. I know that, very many of us were out, in numbers this morning, walking, fundraising, networking, gisting, and just enjoying being together as QC old girls. It was a pretty special day. So I'm glad to see so many people are back on again tonight. We've got quite a packed program, so I'll start by just really, first of all, introducing myself. I'm Fola Laoye Nielebute, class of 1986. I come from a long line of QC girls, and very proudly so. As we would like to jump straight into the agenda, we would like to, of course, start our program this evening, first and foremost, by paying, good attention and goodwill to our Lord with the school prayer. So please, can we have the school prayer up so we can please all join in and get started? I'm not sure who's handling the shall I say the sound, so I'm not sure if people can be unmuted. So please try and follow in the prayer, but I will lead. O Lord, by whose manifold grace all things work together for good to them that love thee. Establish with praise the things that thou hast wrought in us, and make us filled with
the Lord has blessed.
That whatsoever
things are true,
pure,
lovely,
and of good report, may here forever flourish and abound. Preserve it and unblemished flame, enlarge it with wider usefulness, and exalt it
with the love and reverence
of all its members as an instrument of thy glory. Amen. Amen. Thank you very much. I think that always brings it home to us, just how much, QC has instilled in us, over right from when we were young girls to the women we are today. So we thank God for that. Okay, at this point, I'd like to welcome the chairman or chairperson, shall I say, of our QC OGA Board of Trustees, Chief Tolulope Igodalo. Good evening, Ma. It was really nice to work with you this morning. So please welcome, and we'd like you to take your welcome address.
Good evening, everybody, ladies and gentlemen here present with us this evening. Let me start by saying thank you to the organizers, particularly the events committee, for organizing such an awesome Founders Day celebration, a whole week of it. Today's walkathon was amazing. So let me thank everybody who came out for the walkathon everywhere, in Abuja, in Lagos, anywhere else in Nigeria, anywhere else abroad, whether you joined us virtually, whether you did the physical walk. It was exhilarating. It was awesome. Thank you so very much for the effort put in. This shows that Queen's College is indeed one of a kind. It is our alma mater. It is a unique school. And it is this legacy that we seek to continue to uphold, even as we remember our founders today, who thought it befitting, who thought it right to found and establish a school such as Queen's College for girls to grow in principles, in values, in leadership, in knowledge, in experience, and the ability to work hard, instilling in us the desire to work hard, to be hardworking people. We thank the founders, and that is why today's Founders Day is all the more poignant. So as we move on, we need to remind ourselves, and I would like to remind us all, of why QC was established in the first place. To take the girl child, to educate the girl child, such that the girl child can reach the limits, the heights of development, of growth, and through the girl child to grow the country, to grow the civilization, to grow the people. And this legacy we must continue to hold on very firmly to. And it is with this that I hope that nobody forgot the fundraising part of all our activities this week, especially this morning's walkathon. The purpose for this fundraising is to be able to continue to contribute to Queen's College such that we maintain it at the level at which the founders originally dreamt of, originally planned, and originally worked towards and established. Because we find that government that owns the school presently is unable to achieve all the things that we who are old students remember from our days in Queen's College. Therefore, we see it as important for us to join hands with them to help Queen's College remain and retain its standard, retain its quality, retain the people that we are, the way we were taught, the way we were trained, and such that our children, our grandchildren, and their children thereafter will be able to say, my mother went to Queen's College, I will go to Queen's College, my child's queue. That we need to put all hands on deck to enable us to bring Queen's College back to the standard, the level at which it was, that we knew, how it formed us, how it ingrained in us leadership qualities, high standards of high principles of good value. These things must not be allowed to fade away. They must not be allowed to be destroyed. They must not be allowed to be forgotten. So once again, I appeal to all of us to put our hands together, brace ourselves, strengthen and sharpen our backs, because the job and the task at hand is heavy, but succeed in it we must. Thank you very much for attending this webinar, and thank you for listening. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chairperson, a very able Chairperson. Thank you for your very important words for us this evening. I've tried to open up the chat box, so please everyone, please feel free to use the chat box to introduce yourselves, particularly what part of the world you're dialing from, so that we can really see the breadth of the global breadth of our QCOGA this evening. And of course, comments, questions. I will try to pull out questions as we go along, as we get the speakers on. But please, let's use the chat box to be as interactive with each other as possible. We have such an opportunity as we're gathered here together. Okay, so we're going to jump straight into the more formal part of the program. And, as I'm sure you've read, our topic for today's program, of course, is as we think through, how we as women are here for each other, we also want to learn from each other. And learning, we are, around the subject matter of climbing the leadership ladder in heels. And I think that, that brings the sort of the, shall I say, the two aspects of us as women together. But before we go into long discussion, we are extremely honored and extremely lucky, I think, to have with us in our midst our very own First Lady of Kebbi State, Dr. Zainab Shinkafi Bagudu, who is going to lead us with her own words. Just before that, let me please do our formal introduction of Dr. Bagudu. Dr. Zainab Shinkafi Bagudu, as I mentioned, First Lady of Kebbi State, is a consultant pediatrician and an advocate for women's health with a particular focus on cancer. During the course of her work, she received unending requests for humanitarian assistance, which eventually inspired her to found her own NGO, the Medicaid Cancer Foundation, MCF. MCF creates awareness on health matters, trains health workers, and funds the diagnosis and treatment of cancer patients in Nigeria. Over the last 4 years, the foundation has raised over 100 million naira for the treatment and support of cancer patients. Dr. Bagudu has served on many technical committees, including the Steering Committee for the National Cancer Control Plan and a ministerial committee to build world-class diagnostic centers in 6 geopolitical zones of Nigeria. Dr. Bagudu has since joined the board of directors of Union for International Cancer Control, UICC, after contesting and winning the election at the 2018 World Cancer Congress in Malaysia, thereby becoming the first Nigerian to win the position. As First Lady of Kebbi State, Dr. Bagudu is a passionate and active advocate for women, children, and youth in Nigeria. Her programs cut across various aspects of development, such as health, education, and women empowerment. Dr. Bagudu is class of 1984, so my senior, and of course, I remember her very much from our school days, and of course till now, I'm lucky enough to relate with her from time to time in the healthcare space. So I know just how lucky we are to have her on tonight. So Dr. Bagudu, without much more ado, I want to please ask you to please share with us your keynote address. I just want to confirm, Dr. Bagudu, are you on? Because I think I saw that you've been trying to connect. So are you connected now? Let's give her a moment, please.
She says she's unable to unmute.
Okay. To see what we can do about that on this end. We don't know if we have technical people in the house who can please help us with the unmute.
She has to log out. She has to get out of the Zoom meeting and come back in.
Okay. Dr. Bagudu, I hope you heard that. It sounds as if you may need to log out and come back in as the solution. Perhaps we can just take some music, please, if that can be arranged whilst we sort this out. Please, members and guests, can you give us just a couple of minutes to sort this out? Thank you.
Good evening. This is Bilkisu. Dr. Zainab just sent a message that she still can't unmute. She logged out, I think. Okay, she's going to try from another device.
Okay, thank you.
That's better. This is working.
Okay, great.
Sorry about that. Technology. Let me turn this off.
You might have to switch one of the devices off now.
Trying to do. Okay, good evening, everyone. I'm so sorry about that technological hitch. It's one of the realities of our lives, and thank you for the very flattering introduction. Our chairperson, Sisters Online, ICF, with you this evening on the occasion of our Founders Day. I actually do have a presentation to help me through, but it's fine. Can I share? Can you allow me to share? I know we wasted quite a lot of time, but it will be helpful if we can share some slides. Can you give me rights to share? I think I didn't get the right link. Hello?
Yes, no, that's fine. I'm just checking with one of the multiple hosts. Okay, I believe you should be able to share. Are you trying?
Yes.
Okay, please try now. Okay, perfect.
Can you see my? Oh, it's okay.
Yes.
So today from my own perspective. Is that okay?
Yes, we can see it now.
Yeah. Okay. So I wanted to take it from my own perspective, talking about how women get into leadership positions, and we're all doing reasonably well in our own rights here. So it's not lecture per se, but I'd like to think of it more as an experience sharing, and let's just go through maybe my it can be. Of course, I went to Queen's College, and like Folashade said, I graduated in 1984, and those years are the most formative years of anyone, and the most important, not to mention the most pleasurable. So whenever I stumble across our old pictures, it always brings back very nostalgic, nice memories. And beyond that, without realizing it, those are the formative years. And that is when the foundation for a lot of what is going to happen to you is laid. And why
Your Excellency, sorry, we're having some problems with sound. You're coming in and out a little bit. So I don't know whether you... We can't hear you, unfortunately.
Of this, it's now your own self advantage in a way, and you have to try where you would like to be.
Excellency, would you like to try again? Perhaps you should switch off your video.
Just did that.
Okay, perfect. You're now, we can hear you better.
Just show me. Put the slide on. Okay, so I stopped at the point where I was talking about the extra efforts that we need to put in as females to get to where we need to be. I went to medical school in the North, and one of the biggest challenges I had was examining a male patient, simply because I was a woman. And this might not be so different in many other cultures, but it meant I had to find at that early stage ways in which I was going to clerk my patient, that is to find out what was wrong with him, to even be ingenious about the examination and present it in a way that could make me progress. If we don't use this ingenuity and find ways in, we do possess those ideas and the ways in which we can transform things. And if we don't do them on time, it will be difficult for us to climb up the ladder. Women are also very good leaders in that we're able to make those kind of decisions at various points of our lives, that when we need to progress, we can be emotional, but definitely we do have the leadership qualities when given the chance. Also with education, which is one of the things that I'll talk about later about my life in Kebbi, with better education, we have better financial outcomes, and that has a more impact on the community, on the family unit to start with, and then the community as a whole, and ultimately on national development. It's very easy for us to be mentors because we're the mothers, we're used to being at home, we're used to being the referee in situations with our children, and even with our siblings, for those that have, or even if you have no children, you've had siblings or some sort of family environment that makes it mandatory for you to be the more mature one and the one that has to come into all the problem solving. We wear a lot of hats, as I do, and one of the commonest questions I get asked is, how do you juggle it? How do you manage to do it? And I find it a bit strange or funny because honestly, till today, I have no answer, or I don't have an intelligent answer or formula I can give for that. We just do it. And it's something that most women do. If I have to come home and look at the sockets that are not working, I will do it. If I have to go to the office and sort out why the results haven't been uploaded, I will do it. And it's not something that you consciously plan. Of course, time management is important and we have to do that anyway. And I must say, I have a good team that helps me at this level now. But before getting to that stage, we have to multitask, and we do it so well without much issues. And I've lost my train of thought in a minute. So how do we get to that point? By being each other's keepers, I think, first of all, and having networks like this, having good education from the beginning, making our social circles and our support networks very strong and important. The government has its own liability and its own responsibility to ensure that the laws and the regulations that we have provide a safe, are implemented first of all, and provide a safe place so that women can participate. As you can well imagine, I come from an area where women's participation in leadership is quite contentious, and I can often be seen in, you know, I don't want to call them battles or arguments, but we do have issues when I try to get more women into positions. I'm not even talking about being a member of the State House of Assembly or being, you know, any fancy position. I'm talking about things like having a female on a committee, you know, a committee of how they're going to build the next school or something. And the list will come out with about 12 people and there's no female. Or the awards on the state's anniversary and there's no female. I'm like, why? You don't have females that have done anything to the state. So we'll get into a long discussion. But I think that more and more now, they appreciate this kind of role, and it's working. It works because I engage the right people. I have a supportive husband. Nobody thought we would ever be able to pass the VAP laws and the Child Rights Act in Kebbi State. But I'm pleased to tell you that we recently did that just last week, actually. The State House of Assembly passed the VAP and Child Rights Act in Kebbi. And these are very important laws that protect the rights of women and children and will help us to get to where we need to be. So my experience in Kebbi is not unique. It might be a bit on the extreme side, but it's not unique in that if you translate it into national politics and leadership positions, that is quite the norm of what we see happening there. Gender inequality is evident in various age groups across Nigeria, across Africa, and across the world. And this is, like I said, nothing new to us. I didn't think it would be right to have this kind of conversation without having a little input from my health background. We have very clear research statistics about the value of women in building the society and building the family as the unit block, building block of the community. And then there's also there's abundant research on the ability of education to totally turn around the mortality rates that we have. The more educated a woman or a girl child is, the lower the mortality, especially maternal mortality and infant mortality rates of that country and environment. So, but unfortunately, because we have such abysmal literacy rates in our country and we have the highest number, yes, Nigeria is the largest population, but we also carry the highest number of most things, you know, whether it's maternal mortality, dying from childbirth, number of out-of-school girls, and so on. And this tends to be higher in the northern parts of the country. So what we have done and what I've tried to concentrate on doing in the work that I do is starting with awareness, education, and then advocating for policy. That bit of it we cannot do forever, but as long as we're able to, we have the opportunity to now, it's very useful. And it has worked, and I'm very grateful to the support that I receive from various organizations and agencies, both within and outside government, that help us to achieve our goals. I run a cancer foundation as well, some of you might know, and some of the things I mentioned are what we do. We create awareness, we educate young people, we raise funds to support indigent patients. And the part that I like the most is policy influencing to create laws or policies and initiatives that improve cancer control in Nigeria. I'm not going to bore you with all the statistics. We know all about inequities, both within and outside Africa. Yeah, a little bit more about the health. This is one that I like to think about. I'd like everyone to think about a bit more. the UNESCO data that tells us if all females in developing countries complete primary school education, child mortality would drop by a sixth, saving nearly 1 million lives annually. So if we just think about how we can be a part of that change and perhaps help our the girl child to be better educated, it can even be just our, not just, but the Queen's College girls. We all know the standard of education is not where it should be. And as leaders or want to be leaders, we want them to be our leaders tomorrow. We must try to impact on the environment they're learning in now. Yes, there's a bit of history about the VAP law. With the COVID pandemic, there's been a lot of occurrence, interest, and interventions on gender-based violence in Nigeria. And I must say, this is one of the triggers that helped us to get the laws passed in not just Kebbi, but at least about 16 more states in Nigeria. Not all the states have passed this. Some of them have no intention, like Lagos. I don't think they have any intention of doing the VAP law, but they do have very robust protective laws and ways in which they react to these things. So it's not that it's a bad situation. It's just that they intend to, they're doing it in a better way than or what works for them. These are just, so like I said, I didn't want to give a long lecture about anything, but I think within the conversation, I've touched on a little bit of what we do in Kebbi and what my own part of it entails. I work with the Nigerian Governors' Wives Forum, and the flagship program of that forum is gender-based violence. And I must say we have had a lot of success. So there is always a case for balancing power, and leadership should be a collective role. By elevating our women in the decision-making process, we will benefit not just politics, but businesses, communities, and progress will come to our nations. It cannot happen automatically. We do need the buy-in of both sexes, the men. We need the buy-in of the men because they are the ones in the leadership positions in the majority now. And we must continue to raise awareness and call upon all our sisters and remind them of our responsibilities to each other. And together we will definitely be able to create a better world where we can see more women in leadership positions. I must do a little plug here and remind you that October is the Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And we offer all these free tests and discounts and things. And if you follow our social media pages, you can avail yourselves of the opportunity. And we're very happy to work on a package for all girls from Queen's College. We do all the cancer screening tests at very reasonable rates, particularly for my sisters in Lagos. I'm sure that these will be like music to your ears, but the ticket to Abuja will cost you more to Kebbi. So thank you very much for the invitation. Thank you to Madam President, Madam Chairperson. I'm really very honored, and I look forward to engaging with the association more and more. It's not easy, but I assure you that I will do my best to always come whenever called upon. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Excellency. Thank you for sharing your stories and what you're doing, and congratulations. We're really, really proud of the work that you and His Excellency the Governor are doing in Kebbi State. It is a real testament to what leadership can and is doing, in Nigeria today. Perhaps I'll just ask you, unfortunately, we are a bit short of time, but I think it'd be nice if we could ask you to perhaps, give us maybe a few words for the younger and up and coming QCOGs, what would you sum up to say that they should think about as they begin their own leadership journeys?
Well, I think I touched a bit on it. For me, it's not so much what you're doing at that, what you want to be. I tell the story all the time. I never planned to be a medical doctor, but to wherever you find yourselves, just do it well at the time, because doing that, having that task and that foundation at any given time, is what is going to make a difference. And you don't know when somebody is going to give you a reference or when you behave badly. Of course, we all behave badly sometimes, but whatever position you find yourself now in the future, just give it your best shot. Do it the right way, do it on time, and let God handle the rest for you. Does that work for you, Fola?
Absolutely, do it well. I think that's a very nice, last note that you've given us tonight. Thank you so much, Excellency. It's been great, and I hope you stay on. We're going to try and move into the panel discussion now, and I think perhaps when we get to the Q&A, we may want to pull you in a little bit if we have a bit of time. So thank you. So let me.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let me run speedily a bit ahead, and please let us welcome our panelists, all fantastic QC girls of different generations here with us. And I'll go straight in. And we also have an honorary QC boy girl here in the house with us too. And I'm very excited and pleased about that. So I'll start first with architect Fifi Ejindu, who is class of 1977. Wow, that's my big brother's class. So you're welcome, Senior Fifi. She's a graduate of architecture from the Pratt Institute of Architecture in New York, USA. That's another kindred spirit. My husband is an architect, so I know the blood, sweat, and tears you all go through. She also has an MSE in urban planning, also from the Pratt. She's currently the principal partner of Starcrest, an architectural firm, and chairperson of Starcrest Group of Companies. She's appeared on CNN's Africa's Voices in 2013. She's been ranked as one of the African female pioneers in the fields of architecture and business. She has been inducted into the Global Women Leaders Hall of Fame, the African Charter, as one of Africa's top 20 women of influence in 2013. In 2019, she got the Outstanding Service Award by the Female Architects of Nigeria under the Nigerian Institute of Architects, NIA, having distinguished herself in outstanding service and selfless support for the association. Senior Fifi, I hope you don't mind me calling you that, is a member of several boards, the most notable of which is the Nigerian National Heritage Council, an endowment for the arts, and the Akwa Ibom State Government Technical Committee on Foreign Direct Investments. So you're welcome. She's also been working closely with government and ministries and was recently appointed by the federal government as a member of Board of Advisors of the African Enterprise Initiative. Of course, she possesses a vast and influential network to attract resources to Queen's College itself and to our association. Then let me now go to the next person, who happens to be one of my bestos from my class of 1986, Dr. Iyabo Webzel. Dr. Iyabo Webzel, formerly Dr. Ojikutu, is a board certified pediatrician and fellow of the American Academy of Pediatrics. She received her medical degree at the College of Medicine, University of Lagos, Nigeria. She has been practicing pediatrics for 29 years and currently owns and runs her practice in Atlanta, Georgia, USA, where she lives with her husband and 4 children. She is a business and lifestyle coach and 3-time speaker at the United Nations Global Goals Initiative. She's an author with 1 published book, Permanent Happiness, and it's a fantastic book. So if you haven't read it, please get a copy of it on Amazon. I'm plugging, I know, and also an avid blogger. Dr. Webzel's hobbies are writing, reading, and taking walks in nature. not to talk of Yabo, because I know you so well, not to talk of fashion and those heels. So I know that she knows what it means to walk in the heels. But welcome, Yabo, and it's lovely to have you here all the way from Atlanta. I'm going quickly on to Kofo Durosimieti, who is class of 1999. Kofo is a chartered management accountant and farmer with over 15 years experience across technology, banking, and agricultural industry. She started her career at Cisco Systems UK as a finance analyst before moving on to Citibank London, where she held the position of business and finance analyst managing the Middle East and Africa. In 2013, her passion to serve and transform the agriculture industry in Africa compelled her to move back to Nigeria. Well done, Kofu. She began this journey by working on a World Bank sponsored agricultural project for a year. And then in 2014, set up her own company, Next Generation Africa Innovative Farms, Next Gen Farms, a company with a double bottom line of social impact and profit, with the aim of rebranding farming and agri industry and training the next generation of African farmers. Kofo is very passionate about seeing the agriculture industry in Africa thrive, and is convinced that the youth have a fundamental role to play in the growth of the industry. She holds a degree in economics and politics and a master's in development and planning. She sits on the boards of various companies, including the Lagos State Employment Trust Fund. Wow, welcome, Kofo. I can see that you are doing a huge amount, and I want to say thank you for all that you do. And we have our honorary, well, KCOB, but honorary QC for tonight, Dr. Leke Oshuni. I can greet you with Floriat, Dr. Oshuni. My mom was one of the very few and very lucky women who is both a QCO girl and a KCO boy, because at that time, when you went to QC, you had to go to KC for your A levels. So I believe she is very much part of both associations, and I think by association we all feel we are. But of course, Dr. Leke Oshuni needs no introduction to me, as we are very much our paths have crossed many times in the medical field. But let me also just give you a bit more of his background. He is the current deputy president of the King's College Old Boys Association. And that's why he's made the time to be with us tonight. But he's a former Mobile scholar, 1982 graduate of the University of Ibadan Medical School, seasoned private medical practitioner and health administrator. He has been a director of the Royal Cross Medical Center, Ikoyi, from 1990 to date. For 4 years, he was Secretary General of the National Body of Association of Nigerian Private Medical Practitioners. And he's a founding trustee, first publicity secretary, and current chairman of the Health and Managed Care Association of Nigeria, HIMCAN, the umbrella bodies for Nigerian HMOs. He was a delegate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria to UNESCO's 34th General Conference in Paris, France, in October 2007, and a member of ministerial committees on the investigation of the activities of the Medical and Dental Council of Nigeria from 2008, and ministerial committee on the Nigerian private health sector in 2012. He has been an international member of the American College of Physician Executives, member of the National Association of Managed Care Physicians USA, and a member of the Medical Directors Institute USA. He was a co-founder and has been managing director of ICO Multi-Shield Limited, one of the pioneer HMOs in Nigeria since 2012. He's married to a medical doctor who is a fellow of the Royal College of Obstetrics and Gynecology, and most importantly, is a proud Queen's College girl. So welcome, Dr. Shri, in our midst, and I will just kick off quickly with a couple of questions. But maybe the first question, and if you don't mind, maybe if I could just ask, please, if anyone is not speaking, can you please be on mute, so that way we can really improve the sound quality? I think there are a few people whose lines are still open, so please try and mute. Thank you. I'll just ask her and give each of our speakers 2 minutes each, starting with Senior Fifi. Please give us your story really quickly of you climbing the leadership ladder, if you may, in 2 minutes. Senior Fifi, please. Do we have to unmute you? Because you're still on mute. Are you able to unmute? Yes, I can hear you. Yes,
you can hear.
Perfect.
Okay.
Please go on.
Oh, that's good. Good evening to the chairman of the occasion, our president of the Old Girls Association, of course, Your Excellency. That was a wonderful speech that you gave, very inspiring. Well, it's when you say I should tell my story in 2 minutes, it's very difficult because there's just so much to talk about. But I'll start with saying I was born into a family where we were just 2 girls. And watching what my mother went through, in those days, just being female children was almost, my mother went through a lot. So I think that's when I determined that I was going to do what a man can do, of what woman can do better, and in 6-inch heels. So, well, I had determined quite early that I was going to be an architect. I had decided also that I wanted, after I finished the Queen's College, to go to Pratt. It wasn't very easy. I was the first African woman to graduate from that School of Architecture, because in those days, there were not too many women studying architecture, and then Pratt was a private Jewish school. So a lot of people told me, no, you're not going to get there. You are Black, you're male, you've got a funny name. But anyway, I got there. And after I finished, I decided to come home. So I practiced architecture in the beginning a bit, and then decided to combine it with real estate. Very early on, I realized the housing deficit in Nigeria. I mean, right now, we still have a housing deficit of about 20 million units, which means that if by 2030, we decide we're going to build 200 units, which is what we're doing, 200,000 now currently. So we need 2 million housing units to get to a mark, and that's going to be almost impossible. So yes, I went into real estate, and I think I've made my most impact in architecture. One of the things I'm most proud of in my architectural career was when the central bank governor, whom I had never met, Professor Soludo, invited me to come in and do the official residence of the governor of the central bank. He had seen my work somewhere, and which is why I always say to ladies, you've got to put everything you have, because for us, you've got to go the extra mile. You've got to be a long distance runner. So I was invited to do that job. And I think from that job too, I've gotten so many other, and I've worked with the central bank as a consultant ever since then. But what I've enjoyed doing the most has been in real estate. First of all, I concentrated on the high-end luxury sector in real estate. But now, because it gets to a stage in your life, you make a lot of mistakes, but you've got to learn how to turn those mistakes into stepping stones. I think I'm very good at that. A friend of mine was saying to me the other day, you win? I said, no, I have lost more times than I have won. But I know always that it's never the end of the day. With a sense of urgency, I look, when there's crisis, there's always also opportunity. So now at this point of my life, I've decided that I would like really to turn success, moving from success into significance. So we're working very seriously now on mass housing, because what has happened is that we've concentrated so much on the high-end luxury sector. And we've got what about the other 70%? That only accounts for 30% of our teeming population. What about the other 70% at the bottom of the ladder? So we're now very seriously, I've got a team together. We're working on mass housing. We're working on slum redevelopment. That is key. We're also working on looking at alternative building materials. There's a mindset in Nigeria that you've got to be working only with concrete for it to be sustainable. So we are now working on that. And of course, we might, what I always call, fail forward, but we'll do the best we can. And I've also done quite a bit with taking, and that's why I was on CNN. They actually invited me to be on CNN many years ago. I've been taking a lot of students and established artists and fashion designers out of the country because, you know, they've got to be exposed. It's not enough to be back here and you say you're doing this and that, but you've got to mix and you've got to know what's happening in the global community. You've got, and I'm proud to say a lot of them are now dealing with designers abroad. They've also got to learn and they're selling a lot of stuff internationally. So I still have a lot of dreams. I haven't finished, but so far so good. And I've been bringing a lot of investors. I think I'm talking too long now. Like I said, it's so difficult. So much is happening. Hello?
Yes, I'm here.
Yes,
we can hear you. We can hear you.
Bring investors, foreign direct investment. I've been working a lot of that on that a lot into Nigeria in different sectors.
Fantastic.
So that's really where I am now. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for that. I think that just hearing your story and hearing the breadth of what you've done as you've also climbed the leadership ladder is extremely inspiring to all of us on this platform. Let me go very quickly to my dearest Dr. Yabo. Please, over to you. You need to unmute, please. Can you unmute? We can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, perfect. Thank you.
Perfect. I forgot that. So thank you, Fola. Thank you so much. I'm going to go to the Efiko story in a little bit, and I won't talk for long, I promise. But thanks for having me on this. I feel so honored to be on here. Thank you to all the women that are on here, to the gentlemen or gentlemen, I'm not sure if there's one or two. And so honestly, I am so happy to see you here because I've been trying to reach you, or Your Excellency. Did I say Highness? Excellency, Highness, same thing. I'm so happy to see you here because we're fellow pediatricians. And also I've been trying to get you on my virtual talk shows. So now that I've seen you here, I hope we can connect. But thank you so much. Now my path to leadership, oh my goodness. So I have to say that I always wanted to be a doctor, because I really wanted to help people. But I started off really wanting to be an OBGYN. But after I finished my rotation in obstetrics, I'm like, that's not for me. Labor and delivery, no, thank you, I'm not going to do it. And then I started to develop a love for pediatrics. I went through the children's emergency room. My heart just broke at all the kids that were coming in, dying from preventable diseases that a vaccine would cure, or, you know, just not being in poverty would cure. So that's how my love for pediatrics started. And then, of course, I had an uncle then, my dad's nephew, who was a pediatric neurosurgeon. And my parents made sure I met with him, and he convinced me to go into pediatrics. So that's how my journey in medicine started. Now I have evolved. I'm still a pediatrician, but now I feel like I'm really into what God put me on this earth to do. And this is why we have to be open to evolving as we go, because our career sometimes may just be a stepping stone into what we're really meant to be doing, as long as we're open enough to, you know, to follow that path and to follow that direction. I was born into an entrepreneurial family, and I loved the way my parents had their own schedule, and they were in and out, you know, they didn't like have to answer to anyone, and they were financially sufficient. So I really wanted that. And I promised myself that even after I became a doctor, I was going to go into entrepreneurship. And fast forward, I made that happen. I built a pediatric practice for myself in Atlanta that I now hire doctors and nurse practitioners. It's 19 years strong. And it's it's a formidable practice. It's doing really well. So that's how my entrepreneurship journey started. And then I started writing books after my dad passed. I'm not going to belabor that story. That's another story for another day. But I started writing. I published my first book in 2017. And that's how my creative gifts started flowing. That's when I realized, oh, okay, not only am I good in the business world, but I'm also good with writing. And then I met somebody who introduced me to someone at the UN. Then I spoke at the UN back-to-back 3 times. I started blogging. And then now I'm coaching women on how to be financially free. So what I have been able to achieve all along, being able to pivot and evolve into my creativity and achieve financial freedom. Now I'm teaching the young women coming behind me how to be financially free, how to tap into entrepreneurship, how to use their voice, how to be formidable public speakers, how to realize that their career that they started may not be where their purpose really is meant to be. It all adds up. It's all good. I love being a doctor, but that's not the only plan God had for me. But thank God that I was open enough to also accept the other gifts that I had to do. So basically, my path to leadership is finding what really makes me tick, what I do that makes me feel really purposeful, makes me feel like I'm creating not just a legacy, but I'm helping all those young women behind me who are coming now be able to also own their voices and get that financial freedom, because we all know that economic power is the way to having a voice in the world. So I believe that if we can start to equip every woman in every corner of the world on how to be financially free, girls will really have a better life. So I'll stop here because I could go on, but I'll stop here.
Wow, Dr. Yabo, you pack a real punch. You've always
I didn't talk
done.
about the FICO. Sorry, Fola. We'll talk about FICO later.
Go ahead.
Because it's funny. The other day, one of my coaching clients said, Dr. Yabo, you must have been an FICO in school. I'm like, actually, I was an FICO. And I know many FICOs in school then who are also doing great. And then I told her, I said, you're an FICO too. She's like, yes. So everybody used to call me a FICO. I'm like, you know what? I'm actually glad I was an FICO because maybe my leadership skills and my organizational skills actually started all the way from way back there. So Fola was an FICO. We all know that. And I'm also...
Proudly won.
Yes. So, and I'm saying it now that then sometimes I thought it was kind of like a negative word, but I own my FICO-ness right now because it's helping me become a leader and help those coming behind me.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. So we'll come back. Hopefully we'll have a few minutes to come back, but let's go quickly on now to Kofo. Where is Kofo? Okay, yes, I see. So please welcome and let's hear your story. Thank you.
Okay, good evening, everyone. I'm truly privileged to be on here. It's an immense opportunity being on this panel with, my fellow panelists and listening to the First Lady, our founders, our chairperson and our president. Thank you so much for the opportunity. So I'm still on this journey. I'm class of 99, so I have ways to go. However, I've had the opportunity of leadership. And what I would say is this, right? For me, people have opened the door for me. So that's the power of your network. Every leadership opportunity I've had outside of my company, it has been somebody that has opened the door for me. So I would say be a person of value. That was my priority. Whatever I did, I really wanted to do it well. Like, the First Lady said, whatever opportunity you're given, do it well. You don't know who is watching you. I don't know what opportunity is going to come along. You need to leverage that. And I think on this journey, as Senior Fifi had said, failure would happen and you have to fail forward and you have to turn your mistakes into stepping stone. Trust me, it is very, very fundamental. When you mess up, especially when you're new in the game, you have to understand that you will fail. I'm actually going through a journey right now of failing forward and turning my mistake into a stepping stone. So I think, you need to be humble, especially if you get to a position of leadership very quickly. You need to remain humble, remain hungry, and just build your network, especially with people that have gone that where you want to be or have been there. because they will teach you, they will guide you, they will show you the way, and hopefully they'll give you more opportunities to shine through. And so there was also something, yes, and I think, yes, you have to be open to evolving. So obviously I studied economics and politics with the idea that I would help, you know, improve the economy of Africa and all that. But you quickly realize that, yeah, you know, it's probably the private sector that would actually change things. And that was how I got I started working with the private organization and I had to become a management accountant. It was a requirement of the graduate program. And from that, I became a farmer. So you have to really be open to evolving and be open to opportunities. And, you know, whatever skills you learn along the way, you can always leverage it, because part of why I'm on the board is because I had the opportunity to manage a microfinance bank. I'm an entrepreneur as well, you know, and I have my management experience. So, you know, do whatever you have to do to get people to believe in your ability to deliver when they open the door for you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kofo. That was, again, you know, clearly, you know, some very key lessons, you know, being humble, being hungry, building your network. These are all real building blocks that obviously, you know, hopefully, you know, our girls are hearing, both younger, both older. We're all learning from each other. So thank you so much for that. And our honorary KCOB QCOG for this evening, Dr. Leke. Nice to have you here. Actually, I'm going to switch the question a little bit for you. I wanted to hear from you, really, what are your observations of women you have seen from your KC days, QC girls especially, since you married one, until now, you know, as they have built, you know, themselves up from, you know, being young girls and to now being the women leaders that they are? What, you know, please give us your own perspective. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. I'd like to extend the congratulations and felicitations of the King's College community to Queen's College girls on this 94th anniversary. Greetings to Your Excellency and to my older sister, Chief Tolu Ighodalo, who was a few years ahead of us in an Olympian position back in the day. And also to all distinguished ladies here present and the president. I first walked through the gates of Queen's College in January 1970, when my older sister was coming into the boarding house. Now she forgot her pillows at home, so I had to walk back to Surulere and come back to Queen's College later on in the evening and take her pillows all the way to her dormitory. I was wearing shorts, and her classmates, I think I can remember a few of them, Justice Kekere Ekun, and architect Fatima Wali Abdurrahman. They still look at me as that little boy in shorts. I've never lived it down. Now, in King's College, we have many legends about Queen's College girls. And one of them is that when King's College was 18 years and 20 days old, King's College was put to sleep and a rib was removed from King's College side, and that rib became Queen's College. This is one of our fanciful legends. We refer to Queen's College girls as the blue butterflies, and as far as we're concerned, there are no Queen's College old girls. There are only Queen's College young girls. Having added a note of humor to the proceedings, let me say that back in the 60s, in the immediate post-independence years, there was a clear difference in the way that boy children and girl children were regarded. Also, I observed that my mom, who had worked for the central bank as a manager, started as a manager and for many years remained on that post, while messengers went up the corporate ladder to become directors. So I'd always felt that this was unfair, and it was unfair. The world was very unfair to women back in the day. By the time I went into medical school in the 70s, about 10% of the class were ladies. I'm happy to inform this gathering that my academician colleagues informed me that more than 50% of most medical classes are now of the feminine gender. So that's massive progress, you know. Anyone who has raised a boy child and a girl child would realize that girls are much more serious than boys. And they're much more focused. You know, I remember playing Monopoly with my daughter when she was 5 years old. And after a few minutes of playing, she said to me, "Dad, I think I know what this game is all about. It's about taking other people's money." I mean, that insight was so deep that I began to feel that there was a difference in the thought patterns of people of the feminine gender. And this has been borne out by my observations. I suspect that women may actually be more intelligent than men. Please don't tell anyone. But I really suspect the way I've seen them perform both at managerial level, at board level. If not that, then they certainly have another perspective with which they look at things than men have. Now, biologically, a study done in the United States demonstrated that for every child a woman has, she loses 3 years of her career through pregnancy, which may or may not be eventful, through childbirth, nursing, rearing the child for a few months before going back into the profession or to employment. So if a woman has 4 children, it more or less equates to about 12 years of career delay in comparison with her male counterpart. And this is the reason why in the United States of America, a lot of women are deploying scientific tools like freezing eggs until they've actually reached the C-suite in their career. So they delay childbearing until they're in their 40s, having frozen their eggs much, much earlier in their 30s. This has not yet gained much traction here, but it's actually a strategy to make up for the lost time in childbearing. One must only caution that this has to be done before the age of 40, because by 40, more than 90% of a lady's eggs are no longer viable. So joining you here as a member in good standing of the very rapidly eroding patriarchy, I must commend women for the place they have achieved in society today. I mean, it's a huge, the difference is very clear. I mean, I'm not that old, and I can see how the environment, the society, and the reception for women has altered over the past 50 or more years. I wish you more grace to your elbows. I'll stop there.
Thank you so much, Dr. Oshuni. Thank you very, very much indeed. And, you know, really bringing your own knowledge of QC as a QC sibling, as well as being a KCOB has been really refreshing. Thanks. So I think we have a time for a few questions. I'll just perhaps ask the first one and then see if, you know, people post anything, you know, in the chat. But one thing that intrigued me, first about our topic, and I mean, a part of our topic, but also the First Lady, you know, touched on it, was this issue of us climbing the ladder in our heels. And the First Lady touched on it when she talked about, you know, having to see a male patient, you know, having to find ingenuity. So I guess that's something that we as women have been used to, but not just ingenuity. We've also had to use perhaps, you know, just the fact that we are different. Can I put it that way? You know, that the female gender is different from the male gender, and therefore we've had to sort of, you know, sometimes project those differences also as we've climbed. Is that still the case? Or, you know, nowadays, are we just doing it in sneakers, just like the men are? You know, and maybe I should start with Iyabo. What's your view on that?
Okay, good. Can you hear me now? Yes. So My take on that is we should never feel like we want to be like the men or emulate what they do. We should keep our heels. Yes, and I know that you can still wear your sneakers but pretend like you're in heels. Basically, what I'm saying is that the position of a woman, the way that a woman thrives best is a woman who knows when to use her feminine skills and when to use her masculine skills. I teach my coaching clients a lot about this. I think that some women get it mixed up. They use their masculine skills where they should be using their feminine skills, and it just all gets like, for me, I've mastered it over the years. I haven't always gotten it right, but I've gotten it right now that I have to use my masculine skills, you know, like my sneakers, my athletic shoe skills in my business, in my practice, you know, with coaching, and then my feminine skills when it comes to relationships, my marriage, and wherever my softness is needed. So I think that's very important for women to understand that we're women. We're never going to be like men, but every man and every woman has a mix of feminine and masculine skills, and we have to know how to. I still love my heels, and like Fola knows, I still love my fashion, but you know, as feminine as I am, I'm also a very ambitious person. So that ambitious part of me is my masculine side coming out. So women really have to master being able to balance their masculine and their feminine skills to be able to thrive and survive in a male dominated world. We still have to use our feminine skills a lot because our feminine skills are still very important. They still help us become leaders. Yeah, I hope that answers the question.
Thank you very much. Yes, I believe so. It definitely resonates for me. What about Senior Fifi? Are you still on? Please, do you want to give us your own perspective of that? Not sure if Senior Fifi is still with us. Are you Senior Fifi?
Hello?
Yes, okay, I hear you now. Please go on.
Yeah. What was the question again specifically, please?
I was saying that, you know, in today's world, you know, do we as women still have to only sort of show up very much in our heels as we climb the leadership ladder? Or can we be more, you know, what do they call it these days? Gender neutral almost. I mean, can we show up in our sneakers? Can we do it, you know, almost the same way the men do it in terms of, you know, where the world is now and how we think through how we show up as leaders?
No, actually, we're women. And well, maybe because I'm of the old school and I actually believe in doing things the way they should be done. You're feminine. There's nothing you can do about that. That you're where you are. So you show up as a woman, you show up in your heels and do what is expected of you. Try to do more if you want to gain recognition, I suppose. But that's all I can say about that. I'm not in that school of thought that believes you've got to do it exactly like a man. We women have our way of doing things. We know we have our own skills. So use what you have as a woman and be proud that you're a woman and get there and do what has to be done. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. I think certainly in today's world, there's a lot more now about leadership that's coming out of our EQ, our emotional intelligence, almost than from just our natural intelligence. And I think, you know, again, as women, again, as has been spoken so many times on this platform, the fact that we're multitasking and so on, helps us to actually groom and grow that emotional intelligence from a young age. So I think what I'm hearing from all of our speakers tonight is how to make sure we really tap into that and how we use that. Maybe can I just ask one more question, which is, you know, when we feel that, you know, there are times when we feel our heels are too high, or, you know, we're tired, or, you know, we lose a nail in the heel, you know, we get a bump in the road, basically. What have we found as good ways to pick ourselves up, to cope? What are the mechanisms we feel we can share with, you know, our other old girls and even young girls, to think through, how to deal with some of the challenges we've dealt with. Can I ask, I don't know if First Lady is still on. Maybe First Lady can take that, please.
On, but I'll be honest, I just caught the end of the question. So I'll ask you to summarize this for me, please.
Okay, sure. No, I was asking the question that, of course, there are times when, our heels, as I'm using the heels as, as a metaphor, as have been too high, or they've been, we've cut a nail, our heels have cut a nail, sometimes even broken a little bit. So challenges basically come our way. What are the key skills or coping mechanisms we feel we've learned along the way that we can share with others, with other women going through this? Sorry, can't hear you.
Yes, well, it has to be an amount of faith in
Sorry, we can't hear you.
In your life.
Okay, now.
Yes. I'm a believer, I have faith, and to be prayerful, that is one way. But then, as we all know, okay, let me turn off the video again. Maybe that's what, maybe.
Yes, much better now. Thank you.
That we should be at all times have a certain amount of faith. People have varying degrees of beliefs, whatever religion you belong to. But for me, that has been helpful. And I turn to my prayer books, and I always find a way that I can relate one prayer and find some form of solace. And then to have a strategy where women, and we can be very emotional, and without having strategy, we just have outbursts, or we just go for it. I think I'm a good artist, so I'm going to open a shop financially. Or in relationships, women will just have outbursts, and the man is sitting there just looking at you, and but we don't have a strategy. So it's good to sometimes step back and think about what you want to achieve. And even if you're healed.
Sorry, we lost you. Hello? Can you hear us?
From your family, your friends, your business partners, it will always be one of those, and get the support that you need without any pride, without any emotions. And there's nothing wrong in asking for help. We don't have to be the all-knowing female all the time and carry everything on our shoulders. Coincidentally,
we've lost you again. I think it's the network. Excellency, are you still on? Okay, maybe we'll have to come back to her. I was going to pose the same question to Kofo. I don't know, Kofo, are you on?
Hi, yes, I'm on. Thank you. Yes, I think, when we have a challenge or a bump in the road is, for me, like Her Excellency said, your faith, you have to pray to God to guide you through this. And, next step for me is to leverage on my network, reach out to people I respect and have been through something similar or can relate to what I'm going through. And I speak to them to advise me. And like Her Excellency said, nobody knows everything. And even men to go through challenges. And I think they're really good at leveraging their network and people to help them go through this. And I think we should do the same thing. And, we fail forward. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. And thank you for bringing in Dr. Oshuni. Dr. Oshuni, can we have your view on that as well?
Well, in my career, I don't think there's any being more intimidating than a well-prepared woman who knows her onions. I mean, Fola, you're a case in point. Anytime you talk about the medical industry, I feel as if I've not done my homework. So a well-prepared, well-studied, well-researched lady will always blow the men away in any meeting or in any circumstance where knowledge is up on display. Men can be very playful. Men are very, very playful compared to women. Perhaps because of the responsibility of nurturing the future generation, women are quite focused. And I remember visiting a lady once, a family, and I saw a red curtain in her kitchen. And I said, oh, that's a pretty curtain. And she said that she'd wanted to have a checked window curtain since she was 12 years old. She was already prepared for that life. Whereas a 12-year-old boy is not even thinking, even on his wedding day, he's not even thinking that far ahead. So women are a lot more focused and more serious than men. They understand consequence management. And if you look at the countries being run by women globally, you will find that they're doing exceedingly well. So perhaps the much vaunted skill of men at leadership, it may actually be a false positioning. So I think preparation, I think research, and I think bringing all that seriousness into focus would help a lady ascend the corporate ladder, whether the heels are broken or not.
Sorry, can I say something?
Please do.
Okay, so Dr. Leslie, let me challenge you. I think a woman can actually be smart and her points might be valid, be facts, but she still gets, pushed back, So in a situation like that, what are the men thinking? Because you've done everything you need to do. The evidence shows that this is what needs to be done.
Okay, the men are thinking, if I'm not careful,
maybe their own personal agenda or something.
Yeah, they say, if I'm not careful, this lady is going to take my job. I mean, that's what they're thinking. Like, hey, what are we going to do? This lady is going to blow us away. But, I once interviewed a lady who was a medical doctor, a chartered accountant, and had an MBA. Even though we didn't have a job description to fit those qualifications at the time, I knew we had to take her on. She was formidable. So if you want, well, in the corporate life, I don't know about the public sector, but in private sector, when you see talent, you grab hold of that talent and you never let go. So it doesn't matter if men are initially threatened. I think that at least in the private sector, I can speak authoritatively on that. We love competence, and ultimately a competent woman will rise to the top.
Well, thank you, Dr. Leke. I know that there are definitely different views on that one and different experiences, but I think you're right. I think what we're seeing, what is emerging should also just give us that impetus and that sort of faith in ourselves as women as well. We're seeing women leaders, spring up, running countries and running companies, and running institutions. And we know that the journey is not easy, but we know that at least with that faith and the steadfastness to really be able to sort of challenge the male perspective when necessary, we're getting there. So I think that's great. Perhaps, okay, I believe we have one question in the chat I wanted to pose, where it's, the issue, of course, the balance. I know Her Excellency had mentioned it earlier about all the roles she plays and still having to balance. And the question is that, how do you balance the different parts of your life on your journeys? Have you had to give up on parts of your life to maintain a semblance of balance? How do you make and manage these choices in heels? So shall I ask Architect Senior Fifi, please, to give us her own perspective?
Thank you, Vala. In life, whatever you do, you have to do it with purpose. There's got to be a sense of purpose. And if I refer to the last question where you were talking about getting to, I talked about hitches earlier. Of course, you're going to make sacrifices. There are aspects of your life at certain points that you have to put a little bit on hold. But the good thing about it is that we are multitaskers as women. We do very well with doing so many things at the same time. But yes, without a doubt, I mean, in my growth, I've seen that there are times I've got one son that I would have liked to spend with my child, but I have to make that sacrifice. Life is full of sacrifices, but you also must know where to draw the line so one side doesn't suffer too much. But while you're keeping your eye on the ball, which is, you're juggling, this is what it is, you're juggling many balls. And you're trying very hard while you're juggling these balls to make sure one doesn't drop. And it's not easy, but when it's all said and done, you have to know how to outline your priorities. Prioritizing is so important. Organization is so important. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Absolutely. And interestingly, I'm finding I talked to quite a few men who also are facing the same issue of balance. So I think, yes, even though we as women, we have traditionally felt that we have had to take more of the home front and so on, I think men too are beginning to feel some of that feeling, especially with their own connection with their kids and so on. So I think balance is now becoming more a universal issue. But Dr. Yabo, what's your take?
Yes, so on this, I really would love to talk to, especially the younger women coming behind us. This question is vital, 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 vital. You have to figure out, what do you want in life? Okay, because as women, we've been programmed to always think about, what do other people want? What do my kids want? Which of course is important. We have to raise our kids, we have to parent them. But you have to remember that you also have, if you don't pursue your purpose, you don't find meaning for your life, all the other people around you are not going to be able to enjoy who you are. So it's crucial, ladies, it's crucial that you figure out, what do I want from life? What makes me tick? What is my purpose? Who are the people I've been called to serve on this earth? And you may not know that answer when you're 21, you may not know that answer when you're 25, but keep on asking yourself from day to day, from season to season, yeah, but what do I even really want in this life? Who do I even really want to serve? What do I love this job? Do I even love where I am? What is it that I really want? It's very important to ask that, because it's easy to try to figure out balance, try to figure out this, but if you're trying to figure out balance between work life and family life, and at the end of the day, you don't even know what you're pursuing, or you don't know what you're looking for, you're wasting your time. You're going to forever be tired and just feel dejected and just non-purposeful. So what do you want from your life? What do you want from your life? That's the first question. And the second question as women is, and a few of the other women have said this, we have to learn how to delegate. Women, there's no trophy for the most overworked women. This is why I don't like the phrase strong Black woman. I tell a lot of women that phrase to me has a negative connotation. Nobody is going to give you a crown for collapsing because you're trying to do it all. Nobody. I've always been the delegator in chief. People ask me, how do you make your life work? How do you do all these things? I actually, believe it or not, have a lot of free time. I actually have a lot of free time with all the hats I wear. Why? Because I've delegated out my whole life. There was a time that when I was, divorced and single, I wasn't even cooking. I had a meal, somebody who was delivering meals to me every few days, because I really wanted to focus on my practice. Nobody's going to give you an award for doing everything. You have to be able to articulate out to your spouse, to your children that, okay, mommy can do everything. Mommy wants to write a book. Mommy is writing a book now. So, you know, for the next few days, we're all going to chip in with cooking. We're going to chip in with cleaning. Nobody gets an award for overworking. It's an epidemic in women. It is. And I really want you guys to start learning about delegation. I have a helper for everything. I have a cleaner. I have an errand runner, personal assistant who helps me do my grocery shopping sometimes, who runs errands for me. You know, you have to delegate. You have to for you to be successful in life, you have to carve out a part of your income to people who are going to help you. Look at anybody who's fulfilled and who's financially free out there. They'll give you a whole list of people they've delegated their lives out to. People say they can't afford it. Well, you have to make a choice. You know, you can always afford something if you want, but I don't want to belabor this, and I could go on and on about this, but as you can tell, I'm very passionate about delegation. Women, you have to delegate. You have to, you can't do everything. You can't cook every day and clean and be a wife and work a 9-to-5 job and have 2 businesses and be a mom. You can't do it all. You cannot, because guess what comes first? Your health and wellness. Your health and wellness comes first. And if you try to do it all and you don't delegate, at the end of the day, you're going to get sick. Your body will complain at some point. I'll stop here.
Thank you so much, Dr. Yabo. And well, maybe it's the Efiko in me, but I also really believe in being a stickler for time. So yes. I know we wish we could go on and on this evening, but I think we should start to wrap up, particularly on the notes that Dr. Yabo just left us of saying, we know that yes, as women, we are the ones who multitask, we're the ones who balance, but as I've said, I think that goes now for both genders. But yes, learning how to draw the line, learning how to delegate. But I think we've learned so much nuggets of wisdom this evening. And I'm going to just try and recap, starting from, Her Excellency's speech earlier on. I think she gave us a very important point, which was do it well. Whatever we are doing, whatever we seek to do, or whatever we are chanced to do, depending on what, where life puts us or opportunity knocks, let's make sure we do it well, because someone somewhere will remember that. And that may be the main, lever that we then use to do the next thing and the next thing. And I think that's so important. We also heard about, 2 things that I'd heard at first from architect Fifi, which was exposure, exposing ourselves, exposing the next generation, doing what we can to do that. I was speaking to an old girl this morning about lateral thinking, about how much we don't realize that, our kids of these days and, in our own sort of local settings, don't necessarily have the opportunity. We know our own education environment is more about cramming. And sometimes even if it doesn't mean exposing them and taking them out of the country, but there could be other ways, even locally, to expose each other, such that we can widen the way we think and really, help to build each other up in that way. I think also financial empowerment, Dr. Yabo spoke a lot about that as women, this is one thing. And that if that's one thing we start to focus on more, and I know that we all know what we mean about this, about really ensuring that we understand how we make money, where the money goes, whether it's going to the right places, how we plan for money, and so on. I think that is now becoming a really important topic for each of us. And then Kofo really gave us this sort of, Kofo, can I call you a Gen Z? No, you're not quite a Gen Z, but you're a next gen, I can tell, hungry, being humble, using our network. I mean, these are all extremely important things that, again, as we climb up that ladder, we've got to have all those attributes, and we've also really had to build those chops, if I can call them that help us as we go forward. And Dr. Leke, of course, was extremely, his perspective was fantastic. And of course, he said, look, be prepared, do your research, be serious, because yes, you have to come and you have to kick it, let me put it that way. And to be fair, I mean, I've been in that situation of being the only woman in a male-dominated boardroom, for instance. And yes, it's difficult sometimes to even, how do I say, to make sure that you get your own voice heard. But being prepared, making sure that you have the right information. Yes, that's not the only thing, but that's a part of it, because it helps people sort of sometimes sit up and listen. And yes, you may have to go at it several times because they may not hear you the first time. And you may also have to use your emotional intelligence in that area, but being prepared is important. And of course, where we just landed, all about, about balance and being strategic. I think we heard about being strategic earlier on, with First Lady saying, don't just be emotional, be also have a strategy, know where you want to go. And again, Dr. Yabo has taught us, be strategic even on the small things. I remember Yabo sharing this with me at one point about, I don't drive anymore. I always go by Uber. Why? So that I can sit at the back and use that time to make my calls, to answer my emails and so on. Time is money. Those are the types of things sometimes we have to really think about. But yes, on this note, I'd like to just say a thank you to everyone. Thank you particularly to our keynote speaker of this evening, our First Lady. Thank you so much for your contributions. And thank you so much to our esteemed panelists. And thank you especially to the organizers, and to, of course, our chairperson and our president and everybody else who's been here. And of course, to all of you listeners who have been here since 6 p.m. Wow. And yes, we're still at it. Thank you so much for your time. I know we should move on now because it's party time, according to our QCOG schedule for tonight. So I'm looking forward to the party as well. So thanks everyone, and all the best and I wish you all the best as we also go into another year before we meet again, hopefully celebrating QC at 95, hopefully by the time we meet again. Thank you all, and good night. Well, not good night. See you on the other side in the party at 8 o'clock. Thanks a lot. Bye. Oh my dear. Oh, apparently, I'm so sorry. There is a vote of thanks. Is the president still on? Oof. Apologies.
I'm on, but I think we've lost a lot of people, and I think you did a vote of thanks.
I was trying to rush because of the time, so apologies about that.
No, that's fine. Sorry. I think you did a great job. Thank you.
Thank you, Senior Folashade. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.